House of the Dragon is back. In Season 2, Episode 1, there's bloody murder and scandalous sex, while the realm is on the precipice of war. So who are all these blonde people? What happens, and what does it mean? This video has no spoilers for future episodes, but includes some extra info from the books and from interviews to more deeply explore Hot D. In Season 1, the opening credits sequence showed the Targaryen bloodline in a model city. Now there's a new sequence of a tapestry telling the story of Targaryen history from ancient times to now. So it starts with Valyria, which was the empire of the ancient dragon lords. The Targaryens, Velaryons, and Celtigars originally came from Valyria. This next image seems to be the Valyrians using blood magic to bond with dragons, or to create dragons. We'll talk about that at the end of this video. And this woman is Daenys Targaryen. Daenys had a dream that Valyria would be destroyed, so the Targaryens moved to Dragonstone in Westeros. Then Valyria was destroyed in a mysterious, fiery doom. The Targaryens were the only dragon lords who survived. In a behind-the-scenes feature, a prop says that Daenys the Dreamer was the first rider of the dragon Balerion, the Black Dread, which is some cool new lore. Next, we see Aegon Targaryen I, the Conqueror, with his sister wives Rhaenys and Visenya. 130 years before Hot D, Aegon took over Westeros. Aegon rode the dragon Balerion, who was later ridden by Viserys before Balerion died of old age. Rhaenys' dragon Meraxes was killed in Dawn with a scorpion bolt, and Vhagar is still alive now, being ridden by Aemond. In Aegon's War of Conquest, his dragons burned thousands of men. You can see this hand sigil, which is the heraldry of House Gardener. The Gardeners ruled the Reach for thousands of years, until the Targaryens burned them all and they were replaced with the Tyrells. This castle is Harrenhal. Aegon burned the castle and its people, so now the castle is said to be cursed. We see lords kneeling to Aegon. Queen Shara Arryn, King Torrhen Stark, and Edmund Tully surrendered to Aegon. Aegon built King's Landing and became the first king of Westeros. Aegon's son, King Maegor the Cruel, was terrible, and he mysteriously died on the throne. But then King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne ruled well. They built roads, reformed laws. Jaehaerys made peace with the Faith of the Seven, represented by this star, and this gold could represent the prosperity of Jaehaerys' reign. Jaehaerys and Alysanne's dragons, Vermithor and Silverwing, are both still alive. We saw Vermithor with Daemon last season. Next is the Harrenhal Council, which we saw at the start of Season 1. This is when Jaehaerys' grandson Viserys was chosen as heir to the throne, instead of Jaehaerys' granddaughter, Rhaenys. So in Season 1, Viserys was king, but his family was divided. Viserys wanted his daughter Rhaenyra to rule Westeros after him, but Queen Alicent and her family want her son Aegon to be king. Aegon's supporters are called the Greens, and Rhaenyra's supporters called the Blacks. When Viserys died, the Greens in King's Landing crowned Aegon, while the Blacks on Dragonstone crowned Rhaenyra. Both sides ask the Lords of the Realm to support them. The Greens send messenger ravens, and the Blacks send dragon riders. At the end of Season 1, Rhaenyra's son Luke was killed by Alicent's son Aemond. Rhaenyra and Alicent both hope to avoid more violence, but after years of lies and murder, war seems inevitable. The sequence ends with blank tapestry, waiting for more history to be written. Last season, Helena said, "Spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh weaving dragons of thread." The struggle of the Greens and the Blacks is interwoven with the last 100 years of Targaryen history. Their choices will change Westeros. What will their legacy be? Last season, Rhaenyra's eldest son, Jaehaerys, called Jace, flew off on his dragon to meet with potential allies. First, he went to the Eyrie in the Vale, ruled by Lady Jane Arryn. Jane is an ancestor of the Arryns in Game of Thrones. And Jane is a relative of Rhaenyra's mother, Aemma Arryn. We don't get to see Jane on screen yet, but she agreed to support Rhaenyra. and in return, Jane wants a dragon to protect the Vale. In the book, Jane sympathizes with Rhaenyra because the men in Jane's family have also tried to steal her power. Jane's cousin Arnold questioned her rule, so Jane imprisoned him in a sky cell. She told Jace that in this world of men, women must band together. There are also rumors about Jane. Mushroom, the randy dwarf, claims that Jane demanded sexual favors from Jace. But that's probably not true because Jane is likely gay. But Jane allied with Rhaenyra. So then, in the book, Jace flew to Sweet Sister, an island of weirdos, some of whom have webbed fingers like Lovecraft characters. The Lords of the Sisters agreed to support Rhaenyra, but the Sister Men aren't very powerful. Then, in the book, Jace flew to White Harbor. White Harbor is the biggest city in the north, ruled by House Manderley. Lord Desmond Manderley agreed to support Rhaenyra on the condition that her son Joffrey would marry Desmond's daughter. Then Jace flew to the north, ruled by House Stark. The Lord of Winterfell is now Cragan Stark, an ancestor of Ned Stark and Sansa and Arya and Jon Snow. Cragan is a young man with heavy responsibilities. In the book, Cragan's father Rickon died when Cragan was 13 years old. Cragan's uncle tried to steal his power, so Cragan had to imprison his uncle and seize control of Winterfell. In Season 1, Lord Rickon swore to support Rhaenyra, and Cragan wants to keep his father's oath. But winter is coming, and Cragan needs to help the Night's Watch defend the Wall. Beyond the Wall are wildlings and the legendary White Walkers. In the time of Game of Thrones, the Night's Watch is weak and not respected. Most of their recruits are criminals. But in the time of Hot D, the Watch is better supported. Each winter, the Starks send 10% of their own household to join the Watch, so Cragan embodies Stark values of sacrifice and duty. Cragan and Jace discuss Torrhen Stark, the king who surrendered to Aegon the Conqueror. There are theories about why Torrhen knelt. Maybe he was just scared of Aegon's dragons, but maybe Aegon told Torrhen about his dream of a darkness in the north, and Torrhen united with the Targaryens to protect the realm from the White Walkers. Later, King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne visited the Wall, and ominously, their dragons refused to fly beyond the Wall. In the book, Alysanne was disturbed that Silverwing disobeyed her. Maybe the dragon could sense the White Walkers and was afraid. Alysanne also visited the Night Fort, the oldest and spookiest castle on the Wall. This is where the legendary Night's King married a corpse queen and made sacrifices to White Walkers. Alysanne was so creeped out by the Night Fort that she paid to have it replaced with a new castle, and that's why the Night Fort is abandoned when Bran is there in Game of Thrones. Alysanne also helped the Night's Watch by giving them extra land, called the New Gift. So maybe Jaehaerys and Alysanne helped the Watch because they also knew about Aegon's White Walker dream. Then in Season 1, Viserys told Rhaenyra about the dream. For hundreds of years, the Targaryens passed down this sacred duty. But then in Game of Thrones, the dream is forgotten, and most people think White Walkers are a myth. So Cragan keeps most of his strength in the north, but he agrees to send 2,000 older Northmen to help Rhaenyra. In the north, there's a tradition that old men will go and die in battle so that their families have fewer mouths to feed in winter. So Cragan's old men might expect to never come home. In the book, Cragan and Jace become close friends. They drink and hunt and train together. Cragan once had a brother who died, and Jace just lost his brother Luke. So Jace and Cragan form a deep bond through duty and through loss. There are also rumors in the book. Mushroom says that Jace secretly married Cragan's bastard half-sister Sarah Snow, even though Jace is betrothed to marry Baelor. Mushroom also claims that Jace's dragon Vermax left dragon eggs at Winterfell. That stuff might be untrue, but Cragan and Jace formed an alliance between Stark and Targaryen, a pact of ice and fire. Rhaenys Targaryen returns to Dragonstone. She's the wife of Lord Corlys Velaryon, and she and her dragon have been helping the Velaryons blockade the Gullet so that the Greens can't get supplies by sea. Daemon Targaryen is Rhaenyra's husband and uncle. Daemon wants to go and kill Aemond and his dragon Vhagar to avenge the death of Luke, but Vhagar is the most powerful being alive, so Daemon wants Rhaenys and her dragon to help him. Rhaenys refuses to act without orders from Queen Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra is taking time off to grieve Luke. Daemon says the mother grieves as the queen shirks her duties. Rhaenyra's emotional needs clash with her political responsibilities, and that's one of the main themes of this story, the conflict between the personal and the political, between desires and duty. Work-life balance is hard. Daemon has also lost people. His brother Viserys just died, and his stillborn child Visenya. But Daemon doesn't stop to process his emotions. He just wants action. He wants violence. Daemon and Rhaenys are both powerful, strong-willed people, and their tension is intense. Actor Eve Best says that Rhaenys and Daemon are like a panther and an electric eel, a dangerous combination. But they are family. Daemon's dragon Caraxes was once Rhaenys' father's dragon, and Rhaenys' dragon Meleys was once Daemon's mother's dragon. So Daemon and Rhaenys are connected by fire and by blood. Rhaenyra flies to Shipbreaker Bay, where Aemond and Vhagar killed Luke. Some fishermen found Luke's cloak and his dragon's wing, so Rhaenyra weeps for her son. Luke was always the more vulnerable and sensitive of her sons. He didn't want political power, but Rhaenyra pushed him into it. Rhaenyra sent Luke to Storm's End, where he died, so Rhaenyra feels guilty. She also feels fury at Aemond. The fishermen run from Rhaenyra's dragon in terror. Last season, Rhaenys' dragon Meleys killed lots of innocent civilians. All those people were someone's child. When High Lords play the Game of Thrones, civilians get caught in the crossfire. Lord Corlys Velaryon rules the island of Driftmark. Last season, Corlys almost died in battle on the Stepstones, but now he finally controls the Stepstones and the Narrow Sea. Corlys is sad at the death of Luke. Luke was Corlys's heir, set to inherit Driftmark. There was that whole ugly struggle for Driftmark back in Season 1. Corlys's brother Vaemond died so that Luke could be heir, but now Luke is dead too. Corlys's daughter Laena is dead, and his son Laenor believed dead. Most of Corlys's family is gone, partly because of his relentless political ambition. His granddaughters Baela and Rhaena are now in danger, tied to Rhaenyra's war. What will survive of Corlys's legacy? Corlys speaks with a sailor named Alan, and thanks him for saving Corlys in the Stepstones, though Alan seems distant and uncomfortable. In the book, Alan and his brother Adam grew up in the shipyards of Hull, sailing from a young age. In the book, Alan is just 14 years old, but in Hot D, he's an older, more experienced sailor. The actor, Abubakar Salim, says Alan is confident and capable, but is also conflicted. At King's Landing, the Greens build scorpions, weapons that can kill dragons. Meraxes was once killed with a scorpion bolt, and in Game of Thrones, a scorpion kills one of Daenerys' dragons. But it's not easy to kill a dragon, and the Blacks have like 8 of them, while the Greens only have 4 dragons. King Aegon Targaryen visits his sister wife, Queen Helaena. They have a daughter named Jaehaera and a son named Jaehaerys. In the book, Jaehaerys has 6 fingers on each hand. Maybe incest is bad. Jaehaerys is Aegon's heir, in line for the throne, so Aegon wants to bring his kid to work, so Jaehaerys can learn politics. Helaena says Jaehaerys might not want to be a king, but Aegon doesn't listen. Otto forced Alicent into politics, then Alicent forced Aegon into politics, and now Aegon forces Jaehaerys into politics. From generation to generation, the parents push their problems and their trauma onto their kids. In the books, Tyrion says that we are puppets dancing on the strings of those who came before us. Helena has dreams of the future, though her visions are unclear. Her father Viserys also had prophetic dreams, and he was tormented trying to understand them. Last season, Helena said that Aemond would close an eye. Then Aemond lost his eye. Helena warned of the beast beneath the boards, and then a beastly dragon burst up from below. Now Helena is afraid of the rats. In behind-the-scenes footage, we see that Helena has made drawings of her dreams. There's an image of Daenerys on fire in Game of Thrones, and there are drawings of rats, including a rat man with a crown. Rats can be a metaphor for sneaky, scheming people like Larys. Could he be the Rat King? Rats represent the moral corruption of the royal family, and rats can also refer to the people who creep through the Red Keep's secret tunnels. Later this episode, a rat catcher kills Helena's son Jaehaerys. So Helena is right to be afraid of rats, but no one listens to her warnings. Helena is like Cassandra in Greek mythology, cursed with prophecies that no one believes. Aegon doesn't try to understand his wife, he just says that she's a mystery and leaves. So Aegon continues to be a shitty husband. Queen Mother Alicent Hightower has secret forbidden sex with Criston Cole. After the cunnilingus, they casually chat about the weather, so it seems like they've been having sex for a while. How long has this been happening? Actor Olivia Cook says Alicent and Criston became closer after Viserys' death, and may have started having sex then. Alicent has been attracted to Criston ever since the beginning of the series, and after her long, exhausting marriage to the decrepit Viserys, Alicent finally gets to experience a relationship of passionate desire. For years, Alicent did her duty, allowed her body to be used by others. Now she discovers pleasure for herself. There's a shot of Alicent's foot. Remember, last season, Larys masturbated to Alicent's feet to humiliate her. But with Criston, Alicent reclaims her body and her sexuality. It's all wonderfully liberating, but this relationship is also dangerous. Criston is a Kingsguard, sworn to never have sex, and Alicent is a queen. She can't have sex outside marriage. And it's particularly hypocritical for Alicent to break these rules. Alicent always played the proper lady, a religious woman who followed the rules of her society. Alicent and Criston hated Rhaenyra for years because Rhaenyra had secret forbidden sex. But now Alicent and Criston are doing the same thing in the same room where Rhaenyra and Criston had sex. How does Criston feel about this? In Season 1, Criston said he didn't want to be Rhaenyra's secret lover, her whore. Is he comfortable being Alicent's secret lover, or does he feel obligated to obey his queen? If anyone finds out about this, Criston could be tortured and killed. Alicent puts Criston's white Kingsguard cloak back on. Last season, Rhaenyra said that Alicent's righteousness is a cloak. Her moral superiority is a lie. How is Alicent's side more deserving of victory when she's entangled in secrets, adultery, and murder just like Rhaenyra? Otto notices that Alicent and Criston arrive at council together. Does he suspect that they're having sex? The Green Council has a new map, as though the Game of Thrones is a strategy board game. All across the realm, lords are taking sides. Cregan in the north and Jane in the Vale are supporting Rhaenyra, but Boros Baratheon in the Stormlands supports Aegon, because last season Aemond agreed to marry Boros's daughter. Jason Lannister in the Westerlands also supports Aegon. Jason is the brother of Tyland Lannister on the Green Council, so Jason rallies Lannister forces at the Golden Tooth. Aegon is also supported by House Hightower, who are now led by Lord Ormond Hightower. Previously, the Lord of Oldtown was Otto's brother, Hobart Hightower, so apparently Hobart has died and been replaced by his son. Last season, Hobart pressured Otto to push their family's ambitions. How does Otto feel now that his brother is dead? Orwell suggests that they should ally with Dalton Greyjoy, who rules the Iron Islands. He's an ancestor of Theon Greyjoy. The Ironborn are great sailors and could help counter the Velaryon fleet, but Dalton is a loose cannon. In the books, he's called the Red Kraken, and he's just 16, but he's famously bloodthirsty. At the center of Westeros are the Riverlands, ruled by House Tully. Aegon and Aemond want to take Harrenhal and to force the Riverlords to support them, but Alicent warns that Rhaenyra's dragons are too dangerous. She and Otto tell Aegon to wait and gather more allies. We see Aegon's affection for his son Jaehaerys. Aegon is a bad person. He raped Diana. He neglects his bastards. So the actor Tom Glencarney says it's interesting to explore how this twisted person is capable of love. Aegon never got much love from his own parents. Alicent hit Aegon. Otto hit Aegon. So with Jaehaerys, Aegon is trying to be the loving father that he never had. He tries to include Jaehaerys in politics, like Viserys never included Aegon. But Aegon encourages bad behavior in Jaehaerys. Together they humiliate Tywin and say Jaehaerys should ride Tywin as though Tywin Lannister is a horse. Alicent joins in on shaming Tywin. Alicent has often been permissive of Aegon's cruelty. So again, bad behavior is passed down from generation to generation. Larys Strong is the Lord Confessor, the official torturer. Larys has ways of knowing things, and he feeds information to Alicent. But Larys subtly tells Alicent that he knows she was having sex with Criston, which is a deadly secret. Last season, Larys implicated Alicent in the deaths of Lionel and Harwin. He has dirt on her, so if she doesn't give him what he wants, he could get her in serious trouble. Last season, Alicent told Larys to try and kill Mysaria, because Mysaria had spies in the Red Keep. Now, Larys says that he has removed Mysaria's spies and has replaced them with his own people, who are probably spying for Larys. But Larys does not remove the rat catcher, Cheese, who does know Mysaria and who kills Jaehaerys this episode. Was this a mistake by Larys? Did he not know that Cheese knew Mysaria? Or does Larys allow Cheese to kill Jaehaerys? Because Larys replaced the staff, Alicent no longer has her old maids, like Talia. What did Larys do to Talia? The new maids are all Larys's people, and Alicent doesn't trust them, so she sends them away. Alicent scrubs herself in the bath, trying to get clean. She feels dirty working with the evil murderer Larys, and for breaking Criston's oath. She feels guilty for the death of Luke, and for putting her awful rapist son on the throne. Alicent tells herself that this'll all be worth it, that she'll guide the throne for the greater good. But can Alicent ever feel morally clean again? She feels more alone and more paranoid than ever. Aegon sits the Iron Throne. This is what the Greens are fighting for. All those murders and plots and lies have all been so that Aegon can rule. So, is he worth it? Is he a good king? Last season, Aegon loved being adored by the common people. They give him the love that he never got from his family. So Aegon tries to be good to the people. He says that he'll give a peasant his taxes back. So then Otto has to explain that the government needs taxes to pay for things. Aegon has clearly never thought about politics before. Will he do the work to learn to be a good king? We meet a blacksmith called Hugh, who's helping the Greens build scorpions. In the book, Hugh is called Hugh the Hammer, and he's described as a brute. But in Hot D, Hugh is a dutiful father. The official website says that he's trying to make ends meet for his sick daughter. It's a reminder that while the royal family squabbles, there are thousands of people who depend on the king for governance, security, prudent economic management. Will Aegon provide this to his people? Larys flatters Aegon by comparing him to King Jaehaerys. It's pretty funny to compare the great and wise Jaehaerys to the incompetent Aegon on his first day. But Larys says that Viserys was controlled and manipulated by Otto, which is kind of true. Larys says that Aegon should have a different hand of the king. Larys is encouraging Aegon to follow his impulses, which could make this war worse. Like Littlefinger, Larys uses chaos and conflict to gain power. Alicent is frustrated that Otto undermined her at council. When Otto complained that Alicent refused to kill Rhaenyra, Alicent needs Aegon and Aemond to respect and obey her, because Alicent wants to influence Aegon, to rule through him, so that Alicent can finally have real power. But last season, Rhaenys said that Alicent's attempts at power are an illusion, only a window in her prison in this world of men. In this scene, there's a prominent window in the dark room. So will Alicent get real power? She wants to minimize violence, but her sons want war. The Velaryon blockade captures Mysaria on her way out from King's Landing. Last season, Larys burned Mysaria's house, but she survived. Or maybe Larys let her go. Previously, Mysaria worked in a brothel, and she and Daemon were lovers. But Daemon put Mysaria in danger with his tantrum on Dragonstone, so Mysaria left and became a spymaster and sold information to Otto. It was probably Mysaria who got Daemon exiled by telling Otto about Daemon's heir for a day speech and about his hookup with Rhaenyra. So Daemon's angry that Mysaria helped his enemy. Mysaria says that she's common-born and she doesn't have the power and protection Prince Daemon does, so she just did what she had to do to survive. Though we know that Mysaria has deeper goals than that. Last season, Mysaria told Otto to close the child fighting pits. Will Mysaria keep fighting to protect common people? Eric Cargill is a Kingsguard. He used to be the sworn protector of Aegon, but he saw how terrible Aegon is, so Eric bravely left the Greens and left his twin brother Aric, and Eric came to help Rhaenyra instead. He made a tough moral choice. How can he keep his oath to the royal family when the royal family is fighting itself? In Game of Thrones, Jaime Lannister faces similar dilemmas. He broke his oath to kill the Mad King and was forever hated for his most heroic act. Daemon doesn't listen and just gets mad at Eric for not killing Aegon. Daemon really seems determined to piss off all of his allies. Rhaenyra returns to Dragonstone, full of grief and fury. She says that she wants Aemond, the man who killed her son. And this is the only line that Rhaenyra says in this whole episode. The actor Emma Darcy says Rhaenyra is almost ashamed that she wants revenge. She wants to be merciful and ethical, but inside she has that violent Targaryen fire that she shares with Daemon. That's why she married Daemon, fire to fire. But we know how destructive that fire can be. Rhaenyra looks similar to Daenerys in Game of Thrones before she burns King's Landing. Will Rhaenyra's rage bring destruction? Jace returns from the north. He tries to tell Rhaenyra of their new alliances, but he breaks down crying. How can you be a prince and a grieving brother at the same time? How can Rhaenyra be a wartime queen and a grieving mother? In a political world, it's hard to find space for human emotion. They hold a funeral for Luke. They don't have his body, so they burn his possessions. Rhaenyra just had a funeral for her unborn child, Visenya, and her father Viserys just died. Emma Darcy says Rhaenyra is devastated with grief and needs to find a way to travel back to the world of the living. Joffrey is the youngest son of Rhaenyra and Harwin. He holds this horse toy, which had been Luke's in Season 1. In the book, Joffrey swears a terrible oath of vengeance against Aemond, and his family have to stop Joffrey from flying off on his dragon to get revenge. In the book, Joffrey is 11 years old, but seems younger in the show. But he still has his dragon, Tyraxes. Will Joffrey join the war that killed his brother? We see Rhaena crying at the funeral. She was betrothed to marry Luke and to rule Driftmark with him. What is Rhaena's future now? Alicent also grieves. She prays for her dead mother, and we learn that her mother's name is Allery Florent. We don't know much about Allery, but according to interviews, Allery was religious, and after Allery died of illness, Alicent uses faith to feel connected to her mother. Alicent also lights a candle for Viserys. Viserys's terrible choices created this conflict, and Viserys subjected Alicent to marital rape. But Alicent still has love for her dead husband. Finally, Alicent lights a candle for Luke. In Season 1, Alicent tried to cut out Luke's eyeball, but she's cooled down since then, and she sympathizes for Rhaenyra's loss, mother to mother. This sept is the same place where Alicent and Rhaenyra once shared their feelings. Last season, they were so close to rekindling that friendship. Now we see that these candles still burn, connecting Alicent to Rhaenyra's fire. Can Alicent and Rhaenyra reunite? Aemond and Criston want violence. They discuss the Crown Lands, the area around King's Landing. Many of the minor lords here support Rhaenyra, so Criston and Aemond want to attack them. They want to go to Rosby and Stokeworth, and to use Aemond's dragon to convince those lords to help them fight the rebels. We saw Castle Stokeworth in Game of Thrones, when Bronn almost married Lollys Stokeworth. Aemond is frustrated that Alicent blames him for killing Luke. He says that Alicent started this war by crowning Aegon, not Rhaenyra. Criston defends Alicent, but he seems uncomfortable. Criston is secretly having sex with Aemond's mother. How will Aemond react if he finds that out? Otto appears and is angry that Aemond and Criston are plotting without him, and again tells them to not act yet. The Greens are increasingly divided. On the brink of war, can this family hold together? Aegon has new friends: Martin Reyne, Leon Estamont, and Eddard Red Ned Waters. 100 years from now, House Reyne is destroyed by Tywin Lannister. That's what the song The Rains of Castamere is about. House Estamont is from the Stormlands. Robert, Stannis, and Renly's mother is an Estamont. And Waters is a bastard name. Red Ned must be the bastard of some Crownlands nobleman. Now that Aegon is king, he attracts courtiers, flatterers, brown noses, people who befriend the king and try to get stuff from him. Leon declares Aegon the magnanimous and the generous, and then asks him for more wine. What influence will Martin, Leon, and Ned have on the king? They ask what Aegon's royal epithet should be. Like Aegon I was the conqueror, Maegor was the cruel, Jaehaerys was the conciliator. How will Aegon be remembered? He likes the dragoncock. While Rhaenyra grieves for her son, Daemon plans to murder a son. He puts on his mischief hoodie and sneaks into King's Landing. Daemon is led inside by a Goldcloak, a city watchman. Because Daemon was once commander of the Watch, he gave them their gold cloaks. He held parties for the gold cloaks and used them as his personal army on Dragonstone. Otto planned to remove gold cloaks who were loyal to Daemon, but there are still gold cloaks who love their old commander. Mysaria told Daemon about a certain rat catcher at the keep. In the book, this guy is called Cheese. Earlier, we saw Cheese working in the keep. It's normal for him to be there, so he won't attract suspicion. And Cheese knows about the Red Keep's secret passages. These passages were built by King Maegor the Cruel. Then Maegor killed the builders so that no one would know about his passages. But Daemon and Rhaenyra use the passages in Season 1, and Eric does with Rhaenys, so now Cheese will use them to enter the keep. Daemon also sends a gold cloak named Blood, and he tells the men to kill Aemond to avenge the death of Luke. Cheese says, what if we can't find Aemond? And then the scene ends. So what did Daemon say? It seems that Daemon replied, a son for a son, and suggested that if they can't find Aemond, they should kill his innocent nephew Jaehaerys instead. We don't know for sure if that's what Daemon said. Showrunner Ryan Condal says it's open to interpretation, but it sure seems like Daemon ordered the death of an innocent child. And this is surely not what Rhaenyra wants. Daemon is defying his queen and pushing his own desire to escalate this war. So Blood and Cheese enter the keep, and their mission does not go to plan. Ryan Condal says it's a heist gone wrong by two incompetent hitmen. Cheese sees this mural of the burning of Harrenhal, a reminder of what the Targaryens do to their enemies. So Blood and Cheese don't find Aemond, but they do find Helaena and her children Jaehaera and Jaehaerys. It's surprising that there aren't guards in the keep stopping Blood and Cheese. Maybe that's because the Kingsguard Criston is busy having sex with the Queen. It's like in Season 1, where Criston was absent while the royal children fought. Maybe he was having sex with Alicent then, too. Another explanation for the lack of guards is that Larys just removed a bunch of the Red Keep staff and replaced them with his own people. Maybe Larys allowed this to happen. In the book, Blood and Cheese have a smarter plan. They can't get to Helaena and Aegon because security is too good, but they can get into Alicent's room by climbing up inside the walls of a tower. So they capture Alicent, and then they wait for Helaena, because they know that Helaena and her kids visit Alicent each night. So that's how they capture the royals in the book. In Hot D, Blood and Cheese can't tell the difference between the boy Jaehaerys and the girl Jaehaera. It's like how Cersei and Jaime looked the same as kids. In the books, Cersei wondered, if boys and girls look the same, why are they treated differently? Why are boys worth more? Blood and Cheese force Helaena to tell them which of her children is male. Blood says she's lying, but Cheese looks in her eyes and lowers his knife and says she's telling true. It's darkly ironic that the one person who listens to Helaena and believes her is the man who murders her son. Helena's family don't listen to her, but Cheese sees that she speaks truth. Then he murders Jaehaerys in front of his mother. In the book, it's different. In the book, Blood kills some guards and a maid, and they corner Helaena along with her 3 children, Jaehaera, Jaehaerys, and Maelor. Maelor is another son of Aegon and Helaena, who doesn't exist yet on Hot D. But in the book, Blood and Cheese make Helaena choose which of her sons they will kill. Helaena chooses the youngest, Maelor, so cruelly, Blood kills Jaehaerys instead, and tells Maelor that his mother wants him dead. They make this as traumatic as possible. Blood and Cheese could also have killed Helaena and Alicent, but they choose not to, and leave them alive to remember the horror. In the show, Helaena runs to her mother and finds Alicent having sex with Criston. The final shot is of Alicent's face learning her grandson was murdered, just like how last season ended with Rhaenyra learning her son was killed. Is peace possible now? Alicent might think that Rhaenyra ordered this murder. Helaena might blame Alicent and Criston for not guarding her. Aegon will be furious that his beloved son was killed, and Rhaenyra might be furious at Daemon. This murder could create division, not just between the Greens and Blacks, but within them. Each act of violence tears this family further apart, and when the House of the Dragon feuds, the realm burns. Let's talk about the weird part of the tapestry. But first, this video was sponsored by Alt Schwift X. My bastard half-brother, Alt Schwift X, made a 23-hour-long video about Jon Snow with Glidus. They also made 10 videos discussing Hot D Season 1, and now they're making weekly videos about Season 2. This is 50 hours of brand new Dragon Talk, and you can watch these videos now on Nebula. Nebula is an independent video site owned by creators, where we can make ambitious projects that can't be uploaded anywhere else. Nebula has exclusive originals from creators like Isaac Arthur, Tale Foundry, and Lindsay Ellis. Lindsay has that Lord of the Rings documentary, and a new one about John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And there's Philosophy Tube by Abigail Thorne. Abigail's award-winning play, The Prince, is on Nebula, along with her upcoming movie, Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. And Abigail is in House of the Dragon Season 2, playing Triarchy Admiral Shirako Loha. So, to support Alt-Shift-X and Glidus and Grand Admiral Shirako Loha, and to watch 50 hours of Swift and Glidus talking dragons, sign up to Nebula at the link below, nebula.tv/AltShiftX, or nebula.tv/AltSwiftX. Choose your side. Using the link, you can get an annual plan for just $2.50 a month. It's a great way to support Alt-Shift-X. Thanks. So, the new opening sequence starts with Valyria, then pans down to this strange scene. It looks like a dragon with wings of fire and a human head. The books hint that the Valyrians created dragons through blood magic, possibly by taking wyverns and imbuing them with fire. Viserys mentioned the blood mages last season. And in the books, the Valyrians bred humans with beasts to create hybrid, half-human creatures. In Hot D, there are murals of humans having sex with dragons, and Targaryens believe that they are descended from dragons and have the blood of the dragon. Rhaenyra and Daenerys birth dragon-like babies, as though the Targaryens have some dragon DNA. So this image hints at some of the weirdest deep lore in Game of Thrones, that the dragons and Targaryens are bound in blood by black magic and interbreeding. These black candles might be glass candles, Valyrian artifacts that let people see across distance and enter people's dreams. These people might be Azor Ahai and Nissa Nissa. According to legend, the sacrifice of Nissa Nissa created a flaming sword, which might be a metaphor for creating dragons. This dagger might be Aegon's blade, which we've seen throughout the series. Viserys said that this blade dates back to Valyria. Maybe this blade was used for the sacrifice of Nissa Nissa, creating the bond with the dragons, thousands of years before that same blade was used to destroy the White Walkers. This is just wild speculation, but Hot D is revealing surprising new lore. What other secrets will we learn? Thanks for watching. We're making weekly videos for each episode of Hot D, and we are live streaming right after each episode airs at 10 p.m. Eastern Time Sundays. So like and subscribe and press the bell. You can listen to the live streams as audio on podcast apps and Spotify, links in the description. Thanks to the patrons, including Frida Isaacson, Johannes Skov, Eric Nilsson, Kate, Gay Frogs, and Ecologal. Cheers.